Still on this morning on ITV, independent television, and you know ITV is certainly the best. We are broadcasting this 24th day of February 2022, live from Mpape Hill here in Abuja, and we are cruising on the wing of Nationalism and You. I am your host, Oyetake Ebenezer. We will be taking a look at a topic this morning: getting the electoral processes right. 2023, getting the electoral process right. Are Nigerians ready to change the narratives? We need to discuss these issues. This morning is Dr. Minasara Kogo Uma. Dr. Minasara, Nationalism and You.
It is my duty to really partake in nation building. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. You are welcome to our studio. Setting sail straight some of the narratives that we have been witnessing in our elections year are electoral violence, vote buying, and system manipulations, things of those nature. And these things has their negative impact on the whole desire of Nigerians to have a democracy that serves the people. 2023 is knocking on our door. With the body language and all that we have been seeing, what is your take on this? Are Nigerians ready to change these narratives?
Well, the word Nigerians is a very nebulous, very wide concept, because governance is a symbiotic marriage of social contract between the leaders and the led. And it takes two to tango. Mm-hmm. And all the problems you are highlighting characteristics of a Nigerian democratic experiments got their basis as a result of the paradoxical difference, the clear difference between letters and action.
Letters and action.
Letters and action. In other words, we have assembly of some of the best assembly of rules, regulations, assemblies of laws in our own jurisprudence, in our own legal mechanism. We have such type of arrangements in place, theoretically. But when we come to the practice of the letter, that is where we normally get a lot of problems. For example, constitutionally speaking, when you take the position of the Constitution, sections 21, 23, and 24, makes it mandatory on the citizenry to partake in all facets of nation building. Specifically speaking, here we are talking about democratic processes, democratic experiment. You have civic duty and civic responsibility. One, to be sure that you are registered. Two, to be sure that you assist in educating other people, inclusive of yourself, of the basic rules of the game. Three, you make sure that you discharge your own civic responsibility by voting. Four, you make sure you behave orderly. Five, you make sure you support all the governmental infrastructure that is there, the governmental institutions there, the police, the INEC officials, everybody, the political parties and the rest. As a matter of fact, the political parties, the Constitution chronicled the way they should even handle their affairs. Talking about sections 221, 222, 223, up to 227. Specifically 223 that talks about the way political activities should operate in the country. That is where what I'm talking about, the, what do you call it, the letters. Now, when you talk about the practice, then you discover that it has become character in the nation. Issue of vote buying, issue of political brigandage, issue of, in fact, they have transformed the definition of politics into this word, in quote and unquote, manipulation. Your ability to manipulate is what will make you a victor at the end of it. Something. So much you will hear somebody saying, use all mechanisms to make sure I win. Then let him, if he's not happy with my this, let him contest it in court. Because they know that as per section 36 of the Constitution, you understand, he can use whatever money he has to be able to subvert justice, to be able to manipulate justice in his own favor by using the money he has to get the sophisticated, most experienced lawyers to go and argue technicalities. And at the end of it, because our jurisprudence says that you must prove beyond reasonable doubt, and there is no mechanism to calibrate the reasonability of the doubt of the court. So at the end of it, you discover saying that we don't have sufficient basis to convict him beyond reasonable doubt. And at the end of it, you will play a game of winner takes it all. And then here you are at the same time to see the way the political parties are going on, finding it difficult for the parties to even exist. Take, for example, the ruling party. The ruling party is now finding it difficult to even hold its convention, owing to foundational defects. Why I call it foundational defect is that time when the ruling party was to be convocated into one united party, amalgam of different political groups, you remember, came on board just in order to chase the then ruling party away. But the fundamental things they are supposed to do as a political party, they left them. They were only interested in chasing power. The fundamentals are, number one, establish offices in all the wards, local government, states, and the federation. They don't have branches at ward levels. Number two, have a robust, clear, examinable membership register, which they don't have members register, including the largest opposition party, the PDP. None of these parties in the country is having a political party register.
But they have zonal level, they have local government level, and they have been conducting
they are
congresses.
talking about structures. I'm talking of visible, accessible, verifiable membership register at the ward level, at the local government level. When you go there, can you see it? Can you inspect it? That is what I'm saying.
But the truth of the matter is that we have been hearing them running back home, go and register in your ward, go and register. What have they been doing?
That one is symbolic. But I am talking to you in the practical sense. The third thing the ruling party is lacking is that there is no composition or establishment or entrenchment of a fundamental cardinal thing that should be the thermometer of gauging the political temperature of the members. In other words, there should be the shock absorber of downswing tension, board of trustees. A political party without board of trustees and is the ruling party. All these upheavals, all these political problems you are.
Are you a member? Are you a member of the ruling party?
No.
So how are you sure they don't have board of trustees?
As a statesman, I should be interested in whatever all the parties are doing. As a statesman.
Because I know one or two people that told me that we are members of the board of trustees of the party.
I'm telling you, there is no board of trustees. That is what the president is struggling, trying to fill off that vacuum. By trying to, you see, at all times when the National Caretaker Committee, Extraordinary Caretaker Committee, is always meeting the president, seeking guidance, getting directives and the rest, because that institution that is supposed to perform that role is visibly missing.
Now, the issue is not about APC per se.
No,
yes, I understand. The issue is about the fundamental right of Nigerians to choose their leader. That is why we are talking about getting the electoral processes right. If you take away the right of choice, which is by election from citizens, democracy becomes aberration. Are we consciously, from both political parties and from the leadership of institutions, are we consciously galvanizing Nigerians or structuring the system in such a way that it can guarantee one man, one vote?
before you get into that level, that was where I was coming from.
Those are the narratives we want to change.
Number one, you should have correct standing political institutions. The number one responsibility of political parties is education of the citizenry. The number one responsibility of INEC is education and sensitization of the citizenry. You understand? A greater number of the citizens are not seeing participation in political processes as a civic responsibility. Rather, that is the reason why they are prepared, whosoever comes with money or any other forms of inducements, to be able to win their whims and caprices. And that is the reason why you see all sorts of problems when it comes to election period. You understand? Civic responsibility denotes that every citizen should be conscious of their responsibilities. For example, it is your responsibility to determine who becomes your leader in the next 4 years. In a situation whereby you are not even aware, or probably because of the heat of economic, social, and so many problems in the country, you are more concerned about survival, for example. You understand? Any person can come and give you 400 naira, 1,000, and you will take it and then finish it, excrete it out before the end of the day, and then you will keep lamenting for the next 4 years. Unknown to you that it is your own inaction, your inability to go and determine the correct leadership. And it is not the fault of the masses. Because the political setting, we said, number one, we decided to import, I use the word import deliberately, a foreign political system that is different from our customs, from our history, from our culture, from our traditional setting. We now bring it about simply because we want to belong to the contemporary political system that is shining in the world. In other words, democracy. Democracy, agreed, is one of the finest systems of political setting. But the definition of democracy, that interest of common man, entrenchment of the supremacy of common man, and the principles of democratic humanism and social justice has a very large gap of deficit when it comes to practicality in Nigeria. And that is the responsibility of the political parties, the responsibility of the government, the responsibility of civil society groups to keep educating the citizens. You can't just be grumbling and be lamenting regarding bad governance when you have the instrumentality of effecting the positive change at the doorstep of your own political lifetime. That is the decision. Then another thing that we need to put into consideration is the fact that the elites, technically, the elites headed this time around by INEC, technically is even confusing the electors. You now bring about establishment of political parties. I don't know if there is anybody that can tell me how many political parties do we even have without him looking into records. How many political parties? You go and bring political parties, about 100 political parties. When it is election time, you are giving a ballot paper that is as big size as a praying mat. You know, it has the potentiality to confuse an average.
I think recently they have reduced them to around 18 or so.
It's not a question of reducing. Go by practical reality, reduce it to a manageable. Nigeria doesn't need more than 3, maximum 5 political parties. Those that are really partaking in the political processes. Make it a duty that any political party that cannot entrench its branch at the world level, at the local government, it should fizzle out. You can't just establish political parties headquarters at business centers or shopping malls within Abuja, and then you call yourself a national political party. Only at the end of it, you keep collecting the, what do you call it, this thing that INEC normally gives to political parties when there is even no reason to be even given that. No reason. Any political party that cannot initiate, decide on the method of its own source and government should not be giving any subvention to such political parties. And then at the end you will see a political party, or even 20 of them, 30 of them saying, we are associating ourselves with whosoever is the candidate that will emerge in Peacock Party. Whosoever emerge in a Guinea Fowl Party, we are associating ourselves with. That is not the essence of the proliferation of these political parties we are seeing. Political parties should be the vehicles. Vehicles that will convey the passengers, the drivers, and the conductors to the promised political office, where they will be able to engineer social engineering of changes for the betterment of the positivity of life of a common Nigeria. If you look at it from 1999 to date, if you look at the index from 1999 to date, the quantum of money, the quantum of resources we have gotten, the amount of money we have taken as loans the amount of internally generated revenue we have gotten, the amount of donations, grants, and other things we have gotten, vis-a-vis the practical entrenchment of development in the country, then you really say we have a long way to go when you come to the issue of experimentation of real democracy in the interest of robust interest of entrenchment of the supremacy of common man, bearing in mind our position in the Committee of Nations as the largest giant democratic political system in Africa and as the leader of the black world. So we are expected to be leading by example. Whatever Nigeria is doing, other countries in Africa, other countries in the black world, in fact, including other countries in Asia and Caribbean countries, they look upon Nigeria for leadership because we are destined for that. So we have to really, people participation has a limitation to the extent of how much they even know. It's a case of a donkey carrying bags of gold. It's a case of a donkey carrying bags of food with its galloping with the hunger and the disease without it knowing. So Nigerians need to be sensitized, need to be educated, need to know about that. There are a lot of things going on now, especially the review of the Constitution. The review of the Constitution, I really commend the National Assembly for that just try. This is the first time those billions that they are normally budgeted for review of the Constitution exercise, this is the first time that I have seen that practical steps being taken to really bring it into fruition. They have finished the decision, they have laid the decision before the Senate, and by next week they will go into electronic voting regarding the articles of change the Constitution amendment is to bring. I really envisage that that opportunity will be utilized so that common man's hegemony will be entrenched. Number one, we need to see reduction regarding the number of chambers of the National Assembly. We don't need these two chambers. There is virtually no difference between one Senate and the House of Representatives, because at the end, whatever one does, they will come and do what is called concurrence or harmonization. So let it be one chamber, let the decision be part-time, let the salary, the humongous emolument they are taking, let it be clearly be informed by to Nigerians. Let Nigerians know, and let that be pegged to allowances as per your sitting. When you sit, you get allowance, and it should be a part-time something. Apart from that, the government spendings on political office holders should really be rationalized. A country that cannot pay, for example, 30,000 minimum wage in tandem with sections 23 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and 24 has no moral basis whatsoever to be spending millions per day or to political office holders. Apart from that, we need so many things to be entrenched. For example, sections 230 to 304 regarding the judicature, there should be some amendments there so that we will have certain things that will sanitize the political system. We need establishment of anti-corruption court. We need establishment of political offences court. We need establishment of cyber crimes and miscellaneous offences court. And we need establishments of anti-terrorism courts. These four things should be established under sections 230 to section 304, and then political parties should equally be reduced. And then we should avoid this contractocratic, kleptonic kind of capitalist political system whereby money determines everything. For example, in Nigeria, a poor man like me cannot contest any political office because I don't have such millions to buy the form. Why should you even subject somebody, say he should go into borrowing millions to buy the form? The issue of it is right from there. We now subject it to winner takes it all. It's a question of money. If you have money, you can get the form. If you don't have the money, you cannot be Mr. Somebody, no matter how experienced, how intellectually sound.
So,
yes.
So in your opinion, to get the electoral processes right and to do it differently,
yes,
come to 2023, what should inform? What are the factors that we should be looking at in order to...
The number one factor is that no political experiment will be successful better than the level of the citizenry's political education. That is one. Number two, no political experiment can bring you good dividends except to the extent to which those leading political parties have entrenched their manifesto, their ideology, and what the deliverables they want to bring to the doorsteps of common man. The political citizenry should really tickle and engage political parties to be able to know what are you trying to get to bring for us come 2023 and beyond, that is different from what we are experiencing now. People should go into social contract. People should go into social contract, and this should be spearheaded by the civil society groups. Don't allow political parties to just come, just give you rice, give you groundnut oil, even give you a mirror. Don't go into such things. You should engage them into social contracts whereby what are our problems. This is a catalog of our problems under this constituency, and tell us your promise on that. Embed it in your own manifesto, in your ideology, and then tell us clearly what strategies will you apply in implementing these our demands. And then it should be easing the constitutional process the National Assembly is going, should easing the possibility of recall. When you get somebody who is a docile representative, somebody who is a bench warmer that will be going there, yawning, sleeping at the chambers of the National Assembly or in the executive hollow chambers, you should be able to recall him. Citizens should be given the privilege to recall whosoever is derailing from the path of the promises, the social contract between the electors and himself.
But just like you said initially, we have in our law a process of recalling and the rest of it, but it seems it has not been working.
No. The process of recall is almost impossible. It's a case of giving a small boy cake with the right hand as he is moving across the DCU to pick it away with the left hand. The process is so difficult that it is almost impossible for you to recall anybody. Because, for example, while it is the number of willing citizens that will get voters' card, out of them, the number of willing ones are the ones that will even go and cast. Out of them, it is the number of those that even gives you the majority margin. You will see somewhere whose population will be 20 million, 40 million. At the end, when the election results come out, you will see the results in thousands. You will not see the millions. So, but when you are talking about recall, it talks about having 2/3 of all the citizens in the constituency. Not 2/3 of those with registered something. Not 2/3 of those who have voted. You understand? Which is practically almost impossible for you to get that 2/3. Because even to come during the main election, you don't get 2/3 of the entire population. Number one, it is by virtue of those that register. Number two, those that belong to your party.
Now, Doctor, one of the issues that Nigeria considered detrimental to our political processes is the influence of money. Everything is monetized.
Yes.
Just like you said, from the point of buying form, from the point of remunerations,
Yes.
from the point of how much to be expended by an aspirant, and one thought that we have, what do you call it, a law that guides all of these things. But it seems that those laws are not effectual to the extent of even correcting them. Somebody who is not supposed to spend more than 100 million in an aspiration spent $1 billion, and no one is prosecuting and things of that nature. How do we tame this monster, the role that money is playing in derailing our democratic processes?
Unfortunately,
how do we tame it?
Unfortunately, the institutional mechanism for checkmating and enforcement of sanctions regarding those dominions, you know, in our jurisprudence, unfortunately, they are so weak and comatose. That is, if they even know that they are the one responsible. For example, issue of excesses of election spending, issue of committing of all sorts of crimes and the disease. It is now the responsibility under the Electoral Act of the INEC. Why should it be the responsibility of INEC? INEC doesn't have police. INEC doesn't have courts. INEC doesn't have the disease. And that is the reason why you see people committing all these criminalities, people spending beyond what is the limit, people committing all sorts of criminalities, ballot, paper snatching, killing some people, setting places ablaze, doing this. At the end of it, INEC does not have the mechanism, and you said you are putting the responsibility on INEC. While constitutionally speaking, sections 214 to 216 gives that responsibility to police. And section 153 KLM of the Constitution gives it to National Security Council, the the Nigerian Police Council, and the Nigerian Defense Council, gives them this responsibility. And they even say that where, for example, the police is inadequate to really brings about solutions to this kind of things, it says under sections 217 to 219, other law enforcement agencies can be called upon. And then section 174 of the Constitution says that it is the responsibility of the Attorney General, either himself or by his own representation, to prosecute offenders. But how many people are being prosecuted? You understand? You will see politicians displaying affluence. It is only in Nigeria you will see politicians who are holding Ghana must go back, coming to Abuja, squatting. At the end of it, they are competing in owning most prestigious and luxurious buildings within Asokoro and Betama enclave. You will see people coming to Abuja in taxi as politicians. At the end of it, they are among the celebrated competitors on the ownership of private jets. It is only, and nobody is saying anything. And we have established instruments. That is why at the beginning of our discourse I said the difference between the letters and the practice. You have Code of Conduct Tribunal there. You have Code of Conduct. How many people are being sentenced on account of moral rectitude? How many people have been sentenced on account of living above their wealth? How many people have been sentenced on account of this that is going on to the public glare of everyone every day? Everybody knows that things are wrong, but nobody is prepared to bail the cat, because whosoever is there responsible for bailing the cat, he too is a culprit one way or the other if you look at him. So it is requiring a totality of ethical reorientation, complete rebirth of the nation on the path of moral rectitude, on the path of nationalism, patriotism, discipline, and in the interest of national cohesion and national building. These are the things we are lacking. So long you have people that do not know the definition of leadership, if you give somebody who do not know the definition of leadership, it is an akin to giving a madman an AK-47 inside a market and say, do what you want. That is the situation we are finding now very, very difficult, very, very pathetic. People are looking at politics, especially the politicians, as a game of investment so that they recoup whatever dividends they want to recoup. Politics is not a rehabilitation center for crooks and vagabonds. Politics is an excellent center whereby you will matriculate excellent citizens so that at the end they graduate as statesmen that are prepared to stand by their lives.
From your submissions,
yes,
we seems to be having a very chronic problems of attitude to our democratic fulfillment or aspiration and things of that nature.
Yes.
Now, whose rule, that is from the part of citizens and from the part of leaders, we are having attitudinal problem in constructing our democracy the way it will serve the people. One, you talk about electoral democracy, then you talk about developmental democracy. The electoral democracy allows the people to make a choice of leaders based on informed or knowledge. Then the leadership they are able to govern or elect with democratic development and things of that nature. So whose rule? How do we harmonize this front? Come to 2023, and whose rule is it to define?
The first step
for us
is to appreciate that things are wrong. That is the first step, to appreciate that things are wrong, and that the only thing is we should really go back to the basis and change the fundamentals. The fundamentals is that we should make statesmen to be part of political engineering. In a situation whereby the politicians in Nigeria know definition of politics as investments, like I said earlier on, you understand? The interest of a politician is, how do I manipulate to win election? How do I manipulate to continue sustaining myself in office? How do I ensure that my crony will be the one after my own tenure to be my successor at the end of my tenure in office, so as to enable him cover up whatever misdeeds I must have committed? How do I that is the average interest of a Nigerian politician. But a statesman is interested in entrenching national unity. He is entrenching development for the benefit of his people. He is trying to create name, to create institution of good name, to create values. that will last 10 years, 20, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, over decades. That is the interest of a statesman, to give a good name, not necessarily name of, say, I have accumulated or I have ownership of so instruments of properties or money or the rest. In the First and Second Republic, statesmen were the ones that were taking political experiment in the hand, not political merchants, not political comedians. In those days, in the First Republic and in the Second Republic, they look at you and determine the values in you, on the basis of which they send a team to go and convince you and cajole you to come into the murky political waters and become a candidate to represent the people. And at the end of it, you stand the glorious chance of writing your name in gold. But an average modern day politician is prepared to write his name in charcoal if he will get money at the end of it. They are not ashamed to do anything that is repugnant to good conscience, natural justice, equity, or rectitude as far as it is concerned. So we have to first of all agree that things are wrong and then change it. How do we change it? First of all, the emphasized issue of money. You understand? The emphasized issue of money. There is one fundamental thing that in those days we used to have, which is national honors. When you are seen a judge as somebody of good values, somebody who is contributing in nation building, the president and commander-in-chief will give you national honors, whether it's MFR, OON, CFR, blah, blah, blah. He'll give you national honors. Now, virtually that has practically fizzled away. We don't even see national honors being awarded anymore. During this government, I think only 3 people. Let Chief MTO Abiola, let Chief Ganifa Wemi, and the only living one that I can remember is His Excellency Ambassador Babagana Kingin. It shouldn't be so. People should be given national honors not on the basis of what political office they have attained into, not on that. We should really calibrate the issue of the substance, the quality in it. So people should be encouraged to come and partake into politics rather than leaving it as a game of charlatans. People should really be encouraged. Quality of you, quality of your integrity, quality of your background, quality of your intellectual attainment, quality of your working career, quality of your own ability to articulate the demands of the citizenry with clear vision and practical kind of suggestions you are bringing as your robust manifestos. Quite ability in you to live with the citizenry, be enjoying with them, be suffering with them, so that at the end with the decision, we need people that are mirrors of symbolic reflection of the quality and character of the ordinary citizenry. Until those people are in the helm of affairs, that we will continue seeing political merchandise going on in the masquerade name of politics in Nigeria, and it will continue working Nigeria towards a backslide state of development rather than progression. Will keep retrogressing in the country.
As we cruise towards 2023, what is your last word, advice to the nation on how to get it right this time?
The destiny of the future of the nation rests in Nigerians. Don't expect anybody to come and play any El Dorado gimmick. Don't expect anybody from any part of the world. It is our responsibility as the citizens. But the fish gets rotten from the head. In other words, the political leadership currently should be the one to determine and share what will be the political picture, the game plan that we expect to see in 2023. Free accommodation of opposition, you understand, free accommodation of opposition from within the party, free accommodation of opposition from outside your political party, free accommodation of people. People should be prepared to ventilate their interests and aspirations. People should be encouraged to partake in the issue of debate in the determination of political future of Nigeria. I expect that all these issues of paramodial cleavages of tribal, religious, ethnic, and the rest should really be jettisoned aside. People should focus on the issue of the haves and the have-nots. 95% of the people of Nigeria are in the category of the have-nots. Now only 5% are in the category of the haves. That inequitable model of distribution of resources of the country should be revolutionized, should be changed. Section 16 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should jealously be respected and entrenched. So that at the end of it, the standard of living of an average Nigerian should be upheld.
You made me to remember a protest in the United States some years ago.
Yes.
99% versus 1%, which means Nigeria own is better when you put us as 5%. Thank you very much. We have been talking to Dr. Minasara Kogo Uma. on how to get the electoral process right in 2023. It is the duty and responsibility of all Nigerians, particularly our political leaders and those in government, to streamline the system so that some of those untoward things and circumstances that we witness during election years can be prevented, so we can get it right. Don't change the channel, because the second segment of the discourse will be coming on board.